Alright, you show the audience, please. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so I'd like to thank you guys for joining me tonight as I give an informative presentation on NASCAR switching to stage racing. And so I want to start out just kind of saying why I'm even interested in NASCAR and how this is relevant to what I want to do and whatnot. So as you guys know, I love sports, all about sports, and have recently just become pretty infatuated with the business side of sports and what makes it tick and the economics behind it and popularity, what's driving the sports and whatnot. And I've more recently than that, I've gotten into motorsports, which is kind of foreign and not something a lot of people are into. It started with my friend, just kind of, he was into it and got me to watch a couple races, and I found a driver that I connected with, and so I had somebody to cheer for and gave me a reason to watch. And then this year we went to Texas Motor Speedway and sat about right there. We paid for seats like somewhere else, but we got to sit right there. It was the best spot in the whole venue, and it was just incredible. There was just so much fanfare around the event before the race started. We got to see drivers' cars outside, like their actual sprint cars, and we got to listen to Dale Earnhardt Jr. kind of give a meet and greet and get to talk. We didn't get to talk with him, but heard him answer some questions and stuff like that. He's a legend. And my favorite driver even drove by on a golf cart, and I got to wave at him, and he waved and smiled, and so that was kind of cool, you know. And the actual race was awesome. They fired up their engines, and you have to wear headphones or you will get hearing damage. And it just, you can feel it in your chest, and the race was just captivating. And kind of one last funny story, before the race started, they do a flyover before every race, turns out. I didn't know that. And so all of a sudden I just hear, like, it feels like thunder is all around me. Like I'm in the sky while it's thundering, and the grandstands actually started to shake. And like I look up, I legitimately thought Jesus was coming back. I was like, here it is, like I'm watching a NASCAR race, my very first one, and Jesus is coming back. But the jets flew over the top of us and everybody went crazy, and so Jesus is coming another day. But anyway, so I'm really interested in this kind of thing, and so we'll just talk about why NASCAR decided to make this switch. So everybody kind of has an idea of what NASCAR is. It's just people taking, driving in the same track for hours and hours on end for like 400 miles, which could be 160, 200, 300 laps. And so they broke it up this year into stage racing. And I'll get into how exactly that looks here in just a little bit. But basically they split it up into 3 separate segments throughout the race. And so in doing this, they hope to make the race more competitive throughout by rewarding people who win stages and whatnot. And just to make it more watchable, because now you have some more natural splits in the racing, and it gives people basically an incentive to watch the whole race instead of the last 30 minutes or last hour. And so the main drivers behind this, the innovators in this, is NASCAR's competition committee. It's headed by Steve Miller down here. He's the vice president of competition. And then these 2 guys, Mike Helton and Brent Dewar, the vice chairman and the president of NASCAR, were also big advocates and players in this game. And they just were really trying to reinvent NASCAR. This is NASCAR's kind of last-ditch chance at relevance, because the sport is on a decline. And so they're trying to get more people to watch the sport by making it more entertaining throughout. And so let's get into how it works. So as I said, they split it up into stages. It's usually 3 stages, but sometimes 4 if the race is long enough. And the first 2 stages are the same length. It's the same rules for both of them. They're usually 60 to 80 laps, and the winner of each stage is awarded points. So if you finish first, you get 10 points. If you finish second, you get 9, all the way down to 10. If you get 10th, you get 1 point. And this is really cool, and it's the same for the second stage. And the third stage, they make it longer. It's anywhere from 100 to 120, 140 laps. And that kind of appeals to the more traditional NASCAR fans because it's a long stretch of time. But they do have these splits to kind of make it more interesting for everybody else. And so if you win the race, you get an automatic bid into the playoffs. So if you win the very first race of the season, you're good for the rest of the year. Like, you still want to be competitive, but you don't have to worry about getting into the playoffs. And the winner receives 40 points for winning. So if you win stage 1 and 2, you could actually end up with more points than the race winner at the end of the day. So say you win the first stage, you win the second stage, you've got 20 points, and then you finish second, you're ending up with, 79 points instead of the 40 that the winner won if he didn't place in the stages. And so it's also kind of cool for fans. So like, say your driver wrecks after stage 2, but he won stage 1, or he won he won both stages and he didn't actually finish the race, a part of you feels like you still won the race because he was there. And so at the end of the stage, there's a caution period, and it's for 4 to 5 laps. It just kind of depends. And during a caution, the pace car comes out, and he is sets the cruise at 55 miles an hour, and they continue to track laps around the track. And during that time, you can pit and change tires, change fuel, all that stuff. And so yeah, we got into that. All right, so next, who all does stage racing impact? What's this change really doing? First of all, it impacts the teams. And I don't know if most people are aware of this, but there are teams in NASCAR. There's not just individual drivers. And so each team, like Dale Earnhardt Jr., for instance, is on Team Hendrick Motorsports, and they have 4 drivers. And they have, so the drivers, their crew chief who's talking to them through the headset, their spotter who's somewhere above the grandstands watching the whole thing, their pit crew members, and engineers. So why this really affects them is they have strategies that go back decades, and their engineers have formulas, how much fuel they're using, how long their tires are going to last. But that was based on them driving for hours on end, 400 laps at a time. But now everything changes because they split it up into stages. Sponsors, it gives them a chance to get involved with something that's new, different, that NASCAR's never done before. And during the breaks, they can have more commercials or sponsor a driver interview over their headset during the race. Tracks, the actual raceways themselves, it's just really different for them, and then it gives the fans a totally different experience than they've had before. And so these are just a quick list. There's over 16 teams in NASCAR. This is just a list of a couple of those. And there's thousands of sponsors and have been millions of sponsors throughout the years. They actually sponsor the car. There's tons of logos, kind of like you see in professional soccer and whatnot. But not everybody is happy with this. It's been pretty cool. It's been really cool to get in on this on the ground floor. This is the inaugural season, as I said. But not everybody's happy about it. The NASCAR traditionalists are saying that it's way different than it's ever looked before. They consider it a completely different style of racing, and one that they're not actually necessarily happy with, but a lot of people do like it. And it can add on to the length of the races. So depending on when the race starts, and if this does add 2 more cautions during the day, and if it's just a day where there's a lot of cautions, then the race can go longer and longer. And some tracks actually run out of daylight, and they weren't meant to run night races, and so you have to postpone the race to the next day, and that's not good at all. But I can say it has improved the competition throughout. It gives drivers a whole lot of incentive to be competitive throughout the course of the race. And drivers are also very happy because it rewards them for their entire performance. Because like I said, you could wreck and end up not finishing, but if you're getting points, you're getting points throughout the course of the race, so it's really cool. So kind of moving on into the future, NASCAR hopes that this increases its popularity, brings in a new set of fans, brings in a younger generation that drivers can kind of attach to. Like I'm a new fan, I've got into it, and increase their popularity as other sports like football have less and less people playing them because of head injuries and whatnot, and it appears baseball's on the decline for a lot of people. So it kind of gives an alternative sport for people to come out and watch, because it's just different and it's pretty cool. So hopefully that works for them, and I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to this tonight, and I hope you enjoyed it, and hope you have a good night. Yeah, just
Woo! Let's go.